Today we are going to discuss about new features which are introduced in Java 1.8 onwards. Okay, that new feature is one of the things, a few of the features added to the interface. Okay, let's see what are those features added to the at interface level and interface concept, and how we can implement, what is the purpose of those. So that's what we are targeting, right? So now here I have interface B, this is interface C, and this is a class. Okay, this is a class. So once I created the instance, to whom I need to create the instance, either interface, or do I need to create the instance for abstract class, where I need to create the instance? Can I create the instance for
Right.
interface or not? Can I create the
No, sir.
No, right? Why you are in doubt here? You guys are in doubt? You don't know? Right? Manu, we cannot create the instance for interfaces. Always we need to create the instance for classes, even not abstract classes also, right? Leave that point. Now I have in interface B I have M1, and interface C also I have M1. So here whatever the M1 you want, for that you can create your own implementation here. I override it and give the implementation here, right? When you create the instance, which method you are going to call? From instance of A dot M1. When you say, because see, here there is no problem, right? Since there is no body, and here also there is no body. Whatever the interface he implements, he wants to implement, he implements that interface where he is going to create a new method, right? By overriding, here he is writing the code. In class level, he is implementing. He is giving the definition to that particular declaration, method declaration, right? At the class level, right? Okay, this is very old, right? No problem here at all, right? Is this clear or not? At the interfaces, we don't have any implementations, only declarations, right? But at class level, we need to implement that interface. Yes or no? That is the contract, right? If you implement a class, if you try to implement a interface, you must provide the implementation to all abstract methods. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
ఓకే నా అందరికి క్లియర్ కదా? ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఉంటే చెప్పండి, మళ్ళీ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ మొత్తం చెప్తాను నేను పూర్తిగా. ఎనీబడి హ్యావింగ్ ఎనీ డౌట్స్ అబౌట్
సార్ ఒక్కసారి అంటే సింపుల్ గా రివ్యూ ఇస్తారా? అంటే
వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఇంటర్ఫేస్?
కాంట్రాక్ట్
It
బిట్వీన్
is the interface. Interface in the sense, what is that? You should have public in the class. You should have class keyword. In case of interface, you are having interface keyword, and there is no method bodies, only declarations.
ఓన్లీ డిక్లరేషన్. ఎస్ సార్.
Okay. So what is the use having just templates? There is no use, right? Somebody has to implement. So who's that guy? A class has to implement
దోస్ టెంప్లెట్స్,
that
మీ
interface,
డిక్లరేషన్స్.
right?
ఎస్ సార్.
So for example, I am making one Axis Bank class, right? See, Axis Bank ATM, I am preparing a Axis Bank ATM, and I have unimplemented methods. What interface is nothing but a contract between child class and your parent or interface, right? What is the contract? If you have some unimplemented methods in interface, you must provide the implementation. See, in ATM, what are the unimplemented methods?
Withdraw,
Draw,
pinch
change,
and balance,
balance.
Balance, right? So what should I do here? I can create,
and implement.
I have to implement, right? See, I implemented here pin change, deposit, balance, all the three functions. From ATM, I have three functions: withdraw, pin change, and balance. So I need to override those functions. What is overriding? Method override in the sense method name same, function names sorry, method names and parameters
Parameters are same.
everything is same. Yes or no? The statement is correct or not? See, void withdraw. I am just talking about signature, method name, parameters, right? Not about the implementation. So that is the override. I am overriding. I am overriding ATM, right? I am overriding that, and I am giving the implementation here. What is this? Deposit, balance, withdraw for these functions. I am giving my own implementation, right? So that is the point we know up to now. Yes or no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here let's see. After a few days, right? He wants to add M2 function. Here, and he wants to add some M3 function here. So what will happen to my previous code now? See here, I am declaring, I am forcing one more function, right? M2, and here also M3 function I am just writing. So what happened to my class? Is it going to work or not work?
It will ask to implement, sir.
Very good. Very good. Right? So it will fail. If you run this class program, it will fail. And what it will say? Boss, you have some unimplemented method here. Please implement. Huh? Here also, if you are trying to implement this class, this interface, boss, you have something is newly added. Please provide the implementation here. Right? That is the problem. I created one interface that that interface is implemented by the child classes. After some time, okay, I want to enforce some other rule or some other functionality. If I add that interface level, all my project, right, will fail because you until you implement that one, right? So to avoid this problem, right, to avoid that problem, see for example, so you have a switch case here. Switch case, if the case is working, okay, if the case matches with one particular statement, okay, execute these number of steps. డిఫాల్ట్ అంటే ఏంటి? ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎవరు చెప్తారు? Default, something you are not implemented, right? The default function automatically will be implemented.
Like constructor class.
Constructor class. Constructor, yeah.
Like.
Yeah, constructor is one kind of example. Means there is no need to create the object. automatically what is the first function it will invoke? Constructor would be invoked when you are creating the object to that particular class, like that. So default in the sense there is no need to call that function. Okay. So for example, here I will tell. So for example, if I created the implementation here, right, with the default keyword. What is that keyword? Default. Means I am providing the implementation. I am providing the implementation at interface. Means I created one function. That function access modifier is default. That means, so here in class A, what will happen? So whether you will create the object or not, you just call this AG, A interface, A class. You just create the object for that A class, and this is implemented or only one function from here. Okay, let's see example instead of telling all these stories. Otherwise, just I will complete and I will show that example, right? So when I have default method here, default method in the sense implemented method. Okay, some implementation is there, and I have given the keyword is a default instead of public, private, all those things. I just given the default. Default in the sense, so here you create this A is implementation of B, right? So for A, M1 he has the implementation. In A class, he has the implementation for M1, but he doesn't have any implementation for M2, the M2 function, right? Since it is the default function, you can get the access to that M2 function also. So then there is no need of implementation for this guy because it is a default function. Okay, anybody having any understanding? No sound? Not understand? Okay. So let's see with the program, then you can understand. Okay. Now where is our class? ATM. Okay. And where we implemented that? Axis Bank ATM. Okay. Now, up to now, what is our basics? A interface will have only unimplemented methods. Yes, that is true. Right? Now, after some days, I would like to give one more function to that. Check balance. Check balance already there. Withdraw, pinch, or what should I do in interface? What are the facility you want to see in a ATM point?
Generate pin. Generating pin.
Pin already. Okay, generate pin. Pin change is there and generating new pin. Generate new pin. Okay. Okay, so now I decided I want to enforce everyone to implement this function. Right? This is normal approach. Now what will happen to my class? Are you seeing any exceptions in Axis Bank? See, automatically it is giving errors, right? Project won't be compiled because the interface got changed. Earlier I have only 3 functions. Now I want to add one more function. Boss, already we agreed and we implemented all those things. Now all of a sudden you are enforcing us to create one more function. It is difficult. So why can't you provide and we can use, right? why you are enforcing as so, since it is not object related, right? There is no need to create the object for interface, right? So please implement that function instead of breaking our system, right? Is it breaking or not? I am trying to enforce a new change. So is it breaking or not?
Yes, sir, breaking.
It
Yes,
is
sir.
breaking, right? And it is asking, boss, new function is introduced in interface. What is the contract between you and me? You must implement that. That is the issue. That is the problem it is saying. So then we suggest, boss, instead of just enforcing, why can't you provide the implementation? We will use that, right? That is the situation. So there we got a function, default function. Is that correct? Okay. So this is the function, right? Now let's see. The error gone. So it is not asking, boss, you added new function, implement it. It is not asking because already that implementation is there in the interface. Where? In the interface. See, I can write something. What is the pin? I am just RET 1 2 3 pin. He generated 1 2 3 pin and he is providing to whoever calling that guy. He is going to provide, right? Now, so do I need to create the interface? Do I need to create? Do I need to implement in child class? Is it required to provide the implementation once again?
No, sir.
No,
Not
sir.
right. So how since you are creating one default function, what is that? A interface will allow default functions, right? Since it is a default function, there is no need to override. Yes, got it? అర్థమవుతుందా? Since it is a default function, there is no need to override. That's it. Is there any need to override? If there is need, you can override simply. Int, what is that? Pin generate, right? You can override or not required. You can override or not override. Anything you can do. And use this. Let's see. So you can override or don't override. Already implementation is there, just use it. Right? Now, see, you without disturbing any other classes, child classes, right? That guy, he enforced one rule, he provided one new functionality. Up to now, I have only 3 functionalities. I have implemented, everybody agreed initially, and they provided their own implementation. All of a sudden, after few years, after few months, they want to add one more function, generate pin, right? So there, instead of without affecting all other classes, what we can do, simply we can create a default function, right? The default function, that function, if you go for Axis Bank, that Axis Bank, now let's create one object for Axis Bank, right? Where is our main launch? Where is the static method? I have static method here, right? So let's see, now I'm creating, we can create the object for classes, not interfaces, that you know, right? Okay, Axis Bank, access dot, see, do I have generate pin or not? Yeah, I have the
Yes,
generate
sir.
pin. I can call this function like easily. And did I implemented this anywhere? In Axis Bank, in my child class, did I implemented? Did I
No, it is
override that
in
functionality?
No,
No,
sir.
right? So without impacting anyone, right? That is the main motive of this default function. If I add the default function, there is no need to change in classes. The existing functionality and new functionality, I can easily get it. But the new functionality in interface, that must be default function. Okay. Other kind of implementation, other functions, it won't allow you. Okay, clear?
Sir, then what is the difference between abstract class and interface?
Let's see. Abstract class is a concrete class, right? It's a, you can have implemented, unimplemented methods, where you can have different kinds of functions. Either you can create your own function, but it is not having default keyword. And abstract class,
where
default function. Do we have in abstract class? We are not going to have default functions. Default with a function with the default keyword.
okay, sir.
And abstract class, so in multiple inheritance is possible with abstract class. Is it possible
No.
with multiple inheritance? Is it possible? Multiple inheritance is possible with abstract class? No,
No,
right?
No,
sir.
sir, not possible.
Not possible. But multiple inheritance is possible only with interface. But what is the problem here? One ATM center, example, take one ATM center. Initially, I have three functionalities. Okay. After 4 years, after 1 year, they want to introduce one more new function. Then what has to happen? So that function has to be implemented in all other banks also, right? It is a common function, right? Generate pin is common to everyone, right? So what I should do? All guys are using this interface, and they are agreeing to that contract, and they are implementing that contract. Now if I add if I am enforcing a new change, new function, then as per the contract they must implement everything, right? If you are adding new one, you need to implement. But what would be the problem here? So currently whole system you need to change, right? Whatever the classes are implementing that interface, all the classes must be changed, right? And they have to provide their own implementation, right? Problem అర్థమవుతుంది కదా? Are you able to understand the problem?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So to avoid that situation, in Java they introduce default methods, default function. This is the new feature in 1.8 onwards. We are using 18, so we must know this one. Okay, default method. Default methods only allows in interfaces. Okay, got it now? What is the difference between abstract class and interface?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Interface also now it became implemented and
Implemented and unimplemented
but
method.
the implementation all are default methods only, where in abstract class what you are going to have all methods,
Unimplemented.
whatever the method you can want, you can create public void something, private void something, anything you can create in the default abstract class. But the main problem ఏంటి, abstract class won't participate in multiple inheritance.
Multiple inheritance.
Okay, that is the problem. But in this situation, if you that bank wants to add some, because see all the banks will follow some certain standards. So as per the standards they added new standard. So all these guys will affect, right? All the banks will affect. Now without affecting them, I want to enforce one new feature. I want to add the new feature. That guy wants to add, wants to use, he can use. That guy don't want to use, no use, no need to worry. అర్థమైందా? ఇప్పుడు పిన్ చేంజ్ ఉంది, అది పిన్ చేంజ్ యాక్సిస్ బ్యాంక్, నా ఇంటర్ఫేస్ని యాక్సిస్ బ్యాంక్ వాడుతుంది, సిటీ బ్యాంక్ వాడుతుంది, ఐసిఐసిఐ బ్యాంక్. ఆల్ బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్ యూజింగ్ మై ఇంటర్ఫేస్, right? Now I added one new function, default function, pin change function. It is up to them. If they want to give that feature, they just call that pin change function. There is no need to disturb your existing classes. Did I touch any class? Did I touch any my child classes? Access bank change touch chesana nenu? Did I?
No.
Huh? I didn't
No,
touch
sir.
that
No,
Axis
sir.
Bank anywhere, right? I didn't touch all any child classes. I just added that functionality in interface, right? So that guy wants, he can use that. I don't want that. Where is my main launch? Main launch, okay. If I want, I can use. I don't want, there is no force on you. Since it is a default, I can call access dot balance function, access dot generate pin, right? I can, if I want, I can call. I don't want this guy. Access bank doesn't want that pin change function. It's okay. Okay, go for a pin change, right? Clear, right? It is default. Default in the sense, what is that? ఎప్పుడు మీకు డిఫాల్ట్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ రాలేదా? రియల్ టైమ్ సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ఆలోచించండి ఒక్కసారి. డిఫాల్ట్గా
డిఫాల్ట్ గా పేమెంట్ వస్తుంది ఏటీఎం అంటే స్లిప్ వస్తుంది మొత్తం అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఏటీఎం లో.
నువ్వు అది డిఫాల్ట్గా ఎట్లా నువ్వు కావాలి ప్రింట్ కావాలనుకుంటే స్లిప్ వచ్చింది, లేదంటే లేదు. Default, if you are not doing anything, then automatically it will use
ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ మెసేజెస్.
right. So that is the default. Okay, I also don't have that much real time example. Okay, so but default in the sense you got it right, without impacting existing system, right? you can easily add a new functionality. You can easily add the new feature to the existing system. How? By adding a default function in interface. Simple. By adding
Yes, sir.
a default feature in default feature or any new feature, right? That new feature must be a default, right? Then if you want, you can use it. If you don't want, no use, no problem, right? That is the default keyword interface. Okay, this is the new feature which is introduced 1.8 onwards. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ఒకసారి చూసుకోండి ఏంటంటే అది అదే నార్మల్గా జస్ట్ ఒకటి పెట్టాను అనుకోండి ఇక్కడ ఐ డింట్ క్రియేటెడ్ దిస్ గై. ఇప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది చూడండి సింపుల్గా మళ్ళీ ఇంకొకసారి ఐ డింట్ ప్రొవైడ్ ద ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్. ఐ జస్ట్ ఎన్ఫోర్స్డ్. ఆఫ్టర్ 2 years I enforced, right? What will happen? Everybody will disturb. Boss, system fail అవుతుంది. Some new feature is added in that. Okay, boss, I don't want that feature here. Why should I implement? Huh? Citibank doesn't want that feature. Doesn't want to give that feature. Now my system is broken, right? So instead of doing that, if you give this feature, it is very helpful, right? Add that feature you itself and give it to us. Right? Give it to us, then there is no problem to the existing system. That bank wants that feature, they can use. They don't want, they can. Since it is a default feature, you can use or not use. Okay? That is the default method inside a interface. Okay. One more feature is added in interface level itself. What is that? We can implement static functions also. Now we implemented default functions. Okay, what is the static keyword here? First of all, tell me, what is the static?
Static is a keyword, sir, which we can use at class level variables. So it will
If I have a static function, how do you call? Are you going to create the object?
with class name, sir.
Are you going to create the object?
No, sir, with class name, sir.
No, not required any object, right?
Yes, sir.
So you are not creating the object for
Static keyword.
if you want to use static functions, there is no need to create the object. It is not object dependent, right? Direct class dot that function, right? Class dot that function. So static classes, static methods or static variables are not object dependent, right? There is no need to create the object. For example, I have a class. Inside a class I have two static functions. How do I call those static functions? Class name dot that function name, like that. There is no need to create the object, right? So are we creating object for to access any static functions? Do we need to create the object to access any static functions?
No, sir.
No,
right?
sir.
So can we create the object to interface?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, right? So if I create, let's assume this, if I create a static function inside a interface, so you can easily get the access. There is no need to create the object. So I am not creating the object for interface. So if I have, I can have the static functions here, right? Static void
Yeah.
some. What is the another feature you want to add to ATM here? What do you want to add in ATM?
Money
Generator
transfer,
OTP,
sir.
sir.
Card to card transfer.
Huh?
Card to card money transfer, sir.
Card to
Statement.
Card.
statements.
Mini statement.
Okay,
Fast
mini statement
transfer,
function.
sir.
Okay, mini statement. It is simple, right? Up to now I don't have that facility in my ATM. I have only withdraw facility, pin change facility, balance facility is there, and generating pin. That facilities are there. Now I want to add a new function, new facility. What is that? Mini statement. See, it is not giving any error. It is allowing static functions, right? Static in the sense, what is the meaning of static? It is not required any object, right? You can access those things through class name itself. Now let's see. Println. Okay, see here. Now do I have access to this guy? So object creation is required?
No, sir.
Not required, right? Access dot, let's see whether you have that. What is the function you added? Pin change.
Mini statement.
Generate pin.
See, you got the pin generate, no, pin, not pin change. What is that? Not generator.
Mini
Mini
statement.
Statement.
Mini statement. Where is that? Mini statement is not there. See, because object is not required that. For that object is not required. So how can I use?
Class name, sir.
Let's see. What is it?
So this class is not implementing that interface, no sir?
We didn't implement it, but since where is that ATM point? ATM, Access Bank. In Access Bank, I can call somewhere. Let's see here. Access. What are the functions I can? Mini statement is not there. Right? One minute. Hello. Intro. Okay, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's see with this, with the class name access bank dot, no, right? Let's try with ATM. What is this? No.
Or it is showing some
ఎక్కడ?
ATM dot some.
Oh, mini statement is showing. Let's see with the Axis Bank. But here you don't have, right? So we can write the static functions and we can write the default functions. These two can add, right? But static functions, for the static function, do you need any instance? Not required. So I can call directly here like this, mini statement, right? Static functions, what is the meaning of static function? You see, those are not object oriented. For using the static function, there is no need to create the object, right? Directly, in which class it is there, that class name dot function. The same way, since if you are having a function inside a interface, what is this? Static function. You have written a static function. So if you want to access this, do you need to create the instance? Not required. You just call that function, right? Directly ATM dot
Mini
that
statement.
what are the static functions are there? Okay. Can I say mini statement like this? No, right? It won't come. Always wherever it is there, that function, that interface. So this is the another feature which is introduced in 1.8. What are the two features? All those two features are
Function and
introduced.
static function.
All those two features introduced at the interface level.
So
What is that? Default function,
default level
static function.
static function.
Okay. Can you override the static function? So
No, sir.
No, sir.
no, right? Since it is a static in the sense, what is the meaning of static? There is no need to create. No need to create in the sense it is just a reusable function. It is not specific to any object. Are you creating any object while calling that static functions? No, right? We are not creating
No,
any
sir.
object. That means it is a reusable functions. It is a utility. That utility you are going to use a number of places. So in such cases, you should go for static functions. When we are going to use the static functions, some reusable functions you want to use across your project, right? Then create one class. Inside the class, create two static functions. Since it is not object oriented, there is no need to create the object. Class dot function name. The same thing you can apply with the interface, because interface also not required any instance. So instead of creating those static functions in a normal class, we can use those static functions in interface also. Okay, and static functions cannot be override. Okay, let's see. I will try to override that mini statement, what it will say. Okay, what is that? Already implementation is there. Why you are going to implement? Since it is static in the sense it is a reusable function. So reuse in the sense nobody should change, you just use it, right? That is the meaning of reusability, right? Override in the sense somebody has written, I thought I want to use and I want to give some implementation, own implementation. That is the overriding. Observe reusability and overriding. Static functions majorly, what is the purpose? To create a reusable functions. Right, what I am trying to do here? I am going to here and I am trying to write the statement. I want to override. See here what it is saying? You should not override. Create the mini statement in super type ATM with interface. Remove override. Or you are creating a new function. That's it. If I am creating this override, now this is part of this access band, right? Not from interface. So static functions we should not override. Is it allowing override? Override keyword?
No, sir.
It is not allowing override. Got it? These are the two new features. Which is, if somebody asks what are the new features introduced in Java? Static function at interface and default function at the interface. Okay, that is the interview question I would like to add in today's session. Okay, and I will ask one more question to Java. Please answer. Java, what is the difference between final keyword, finally keyword, and finalize keyword? Java?
Sir, final is the keyword you can specify at object and method.
One
It
second.
cannot be changed.
One second. I am taking you. Okay. What is final?
Sir, final is the keyword which cannot be changed. The value cannot be changed. If you have given final to the variable and method, it cannot be changed.
If I
That will be
give,
final.
okay, one second. Okay, I would like to. It should be explained by you itself. Okay, that is my intention. Okay, what is this final keyword? And what is the other one?
Finally and finalize.
Finally. And finalize. Okay, spellings don't don't pick because I am very bad at English. Okay. Vocabulary FINA analyze it. Okay. Okay. So tell me, final at what places we can use final?
Sir, method, class.
Very good. At variables level we can use variable, right?
Yes, sir.
Method and class level. Right?
Sir, at the class level, method